So this past winter was a new experience for us. Past 5 years, we've gone down to Aiken. We've been at the same farm with the same people. We've known exactly what our routine was there. I got a really good opportunity this winter to change things up from our previous winter plans. The partner of mine in the hauling business, I solo shipping, also fellow course designer, and has become a really good friend, John Michael Durr, and his wife Kimmy, invited me to their farm. I couldn't say no. I had stopped in Ocala last year when I actually hauled horses to their farm. So day after Christmas, I loaded up my 2 horses and all my things, my car, and drove my butt to Ocala. On top of it all, my wife let me go away for 3 months. She let me leave home. She let me leave our clients here at home, the business, to go play in the sun and the sand and enjoy some quality hard work time with my horses. Now, my time down there wasn't just sitting around drinking pina coladas, which would have been freaking awesome, but I actually became part of someone else's business for the time I was there, and that was something that I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but within the first 2 weeks, it seemed that I actually fit into their team really well. For me, I had never been part of someone else's business and had to adjust to their way of doing things, the way they handle their horses, their barn, their own staff. And I learned a lot from them, not only in my riding, but in just their handling of their business. The farm that we were at was, it's a small farm right on a really good piece of property, surrounded by many other really, really nice farms.
So my side of the story from Ocala is, since Dave was going for 3 months, I was determined that I would go join him down in that area. It was something new. The farm we stayed at was about 15 minutes from where David and his horses were, and it had 5 barns, like 100 stalls, a huge outdoor, a giant cross-country field, tons of places to hack, and the most important part of that place was the turnout. It seems like when you travel to these places south, especially places that have just wintertime, mostly just wintertime clients as the mass majority of who's there, the paddocks are small, and sometimes you have to rotate between other people and your horses, but where we were located had beautiful fencing, safe fencing, lovely waterers, and large enough paddocks, and enough of them for everyone, it seemed, that everyone got along and had no issues there, and the horses were really happy. So hacking out was great there. The horses all got a big break for that. I mean, that's part of why we go south, is so that they can get out of the ring, because we're kind of trapped at home in the mud pit of the East Coast. We did get to start showing a little bit. It was kind of hard to figure out where there were schooling shows, which as far as dressage schooling shows went, there wasn't much. Actually, I think there was one that we signed up for, and it got canceled because they didn't have enough people. And it appeared that February was the bad month for that, so we're going to have to make a little different plan next year, I think. I also hoping that maybe working with the farm manager at the farm we stayed at for next year, we can do some schooling shows. And Chester's trying to jump in the frame. We can do some schooling shows with him, and maybe we can help organize. I can judge maybe once. So looking forward to that possibility. We did go to a recognized dressage show. I went with Coach, and he did his first level tests and had a great outing at that level. He did training level last year, and he exceeded our expectations at his first show out, and without having hit any of these tests at a schooling show, I might add, which is normally something I would do, but thought, why not? Let's go. He's been schooling pretty well. Ended up getting a qualifying score at first 3 for GAG finals, which who knows if that's happening this year, but at least we have one. We have one score towards our qualifying for finals. Frankie got to do a lot of cross-country schooling. We did a lot. We had that beautiful arena at the farm we were located at, so we got to do a lot of jumping, and they had show jumping schooling shows on the property, so that was a plus for the horses that were jumping. and it didn't cost us anything extra. We got to just go up, give them our number, and ride. I got to see tons of wildlife, which I think was my most favorite part of being in Ocala and in Florida in that area. We had a really large pond on the property. We had multiple ponds, but there was one in particular right behind the barns, and there were alligators in there, not terribly big. So we did have to watch the dogs, that they didn't want to go swimming in there and get snacked on. Tons of ducks and cranes and pelicans and eagles and all this stuff, and I'm a geek for these wild birds. Stuff I don't get to see all the time. So that really made it an extra special trip for me. And it was really nice getting to see Dave work with Kimmy and JM and see all the progress with his horses, because there was a lot of progress there. As most of you know, Dave and I can't always coach each other. It's not always the best situation, so it was important.
I don't know what she's talking about.
It was important that he get this opportunity to go try and get some help outside of what he was asking from me, and I think it was a great idea.
I kind of forgot to mention the very beginning of my Ocala journey, and that is the judging seminar that I based my travel around. There was actually two parts to that. The first was based in Ocala, and that was the dressage training session number 1 with the USEA, and that was 2 days in a hotel room learning about a million things that I will get into on another video that I think everybody would like to hear. And then 2 days at the Florida Horse Park, where we judged rides through tests. I think the first day we just judged generally like gaits and rider position, things like that. And the second day we got to judge people running through the tests, everything from beginner novice A to prelim B. So that was definitely educational, sitting there watching that. And I was lucky enough that Linda Zhang was also there for the last 2 days, so that was nice to have a familiar face and someone that was easy to communicate with. Not that anyone wasn't, but it was nice to know somebody.
So then my turn was next. I did my first, or my training session working towards my large R course design license, and that was over in Altoona, Florida at Rocking Horse Stables, which is about an hour away through the Ocala National Forest. But, beautiful drive every day, but a little far, but easier than driving from the 13 hours from home. But I got to work with one of my mentors that I've worked with several times in the past, Tremaine Cooper, as well as everybody knows him, David O'Connor, and also spend time with a whole bunch of other judges, TDs, and course designers, because it was also the continuing education for the USEF. So there was probably I'd say 50 so officials at this event, all there for continuing ed. Some of them for, like I said, continuing education, other ones for me that are working towards promotion. But it was really nice to learn that I'm on the right track with my design and my thought process as I start to move up the design level, and know where my weak spots are and things I need to be cognizant of and work on, and then understanding things even more. Said the designing through prelim I've got pretty well down. Intermediate, it's a huge step. So knowing that difference and knowing what I need to think about differently was really helpful. And then on top of it, when David O'Connor asked you to be part of his team at one of the events that he designs at, it made a good weekend turn into a great weekend. So
the second part of the seminar was the jumping phase, which was held in Aiken. That was my last part of my trip home at the very beginning of March. That we have to attend as dressage judges in the eventing world, because if you end up being the president of the ground jury, which is always going to be a dressage judge, not normally a lower level judge like I will be for a while, but you have to know all the stadium jump rules and all the cross country rules, so that when the time comes, if you're POJ, you are the final call on any issues that come up, any questions or people contesting like a penalty or something. So that's what you have to know.
That was 3 days for us. There were also course designers there doing certifications and recertifications, and continuing education. So that was an interesting piece to have them there. There were a lot of people at that group, and we interacted on the cross-country course only. The rest of the time, the judges and TDs, because they were also part of this, because the TDs go through the same program that the judges do, we were in a hotel room again. I think it was only a day and a half this time, but you know, we're going over videos of stadium jumping rounds, learning how to judge stadium jumping, and work the timer, which I was completely unaware of, and learning about some procedures and things like safety, minimizing risk, current updates with the FEI, things like that. Stuff we have to learn as a judge.